Hello my friends, and welcome to my September reading wrap-up, the beginning of the amazing autumnal reading. I read so many great books this month, so many that I've enjoyed and recommend and have recommended in videos already. I just love talking about books that I enjoy, hence why I have a channel. And so we are going to get into all the books that I read in September. Lots of good atmospheric ones. Now let's get into all the clips of my thoughts on everything that I read. Okay, welcome to the first wrap up of the month. Shorty September is helping me feel accomplished. I believe I have 8 books, 2, 4, 5, 6, plus 2 ebooks to update you on. Most of which were short, other than the ebooks, and one of which I actually finished the last day of August, but didn't get to include in my wrap up. Today is September 10th. So I've read 7 books, finished 7 books in September, which sounds like, oh, that's a decent amount. But yeah, they're all short. So far this month, it has been crazy for me. My younger 2 are in public school, much to me trying for them not to be. And they didn't have busing up until today's the first day of busing. And so I've been driving 3 times a day, once in the morning to drop off the 2nd grader, once at lunchtime to drop off the half-day kindergarten kid, and then at the end of the day. And it's been taking me about 2.5 to 3 hours of my day to do the driving and to drop off and all that stuff. So I have got nothing done is how it feels. Like my days, I'm so tired by the end and I haven't really done much. Read a little bit, but I feel like from now, this point on in the month, I will be gaining at least 2 hours of the day back. I just have to walk to the bus stop. Okay, anyway, just all that to say, I read some short books, so it looks like a lot, but I haven't spent a ton of time reading. The first book, the book that I read at the end of August is Prince Caspian. This, I think, is on my 40 before 40. I forgot to check it off. I want to finish the Narnia series because I think that I read it all, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10 years ago, but I don't remember, and I don't think I put it into Goodreads, so I'm going through it. I actually remembered a lot of Prince Caspian. So we've got Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. They get pulled back into Narnia, and they end up in this broken down castle, like this crumbled castle, and they realize, oh, this is the castle where they reigned as king and queen. It's just been so much time, because time passes so much quicker there, and they are summoned back there for their help. I feel like they did a really good job with the movie of this. As I was reading it, I kept visualizing the movie. Not much for me to say. There was nothing that I loved. I don't think I did highlight one thing. What did I highlight? Okay, I think this is the only thing I highlighted through the entire book. "You come of the Lord Adam and the Lady Eve," said Aslan, "and that is both honor enough to erect the head of the poorest beggar, and shame enough to bow the shoulders of the greatest emperor on earth. Be content." I loved that. Yeah, so going to slowly continue finishing up. I think there's 7 books, so I've got 3 left. Let's just go in random order here because I just finished this book this morning. It's Woe, a Housecat Story of Despair. I saw it on Goodreads. I saw Tiffany had read it, and I was like, well, that sounds amazing. Yeah, so it's just a little comic book about a house cat, and as someone that has had a few cats over time, I found it hilarious because our current cat is very much like the cat in here. I'm trying to find a certain page to show you. Yeah, they're just little cat-isms. I feel like our current cat is very stereotypical, like the quintessential cat, and so this book felt perfect. And then there's this one spread where this cat ends up loving the man of the house the most, and this is Tolkien 100%, so this was very fitting. We got this from the library yesterday. Ephraim was reading it on the way home, and he's like, oh my goodness, this is such a cat book. And Reka read it, and now I've read it, and we're gonna get Jared to read it too, because it's very fitting. If you like cats, or think they're funny, this is a great little book for that. I also read 5 Little Peppers. I did start this one in August. This is a children's classic by Margaret Sidney, and it's about 5 siblings that are poor. Their father, I think, died. We don't really ever talk about their father. There is no father. I'm pretty sure he died. And their mother is like scraping by to make ends meet. They tried to help her out. They tried to do work around the house and different little things for some money. It gave me Little Women vibes, just, you know, like for kids. And it's very sweet. It's all like bad things happen to them, but everything turns out okay, which is, it's just what you want for this kind of book. It was very wholesome. Lots of pictures in this edition. I don't know if they all have pictures, but I enjoyed the story. They come across some really nice people throughout the time, people that want to help them financially. And yeah, it was just a good, wholesome read. I don't even know why I picked it up, to be honest. It's been sitting on my shelf for a long time. Thought I would check it off. When was this one published, actually? It doesn't say. Oh, let's see here. I don't remember if it fit into my last year's DIY literature degree. It was published in 1881, so it actually fits in with Victorian literature, but I think children's classics was one of my things, so it either fits for this year or last year. Yeah, so if you like classic children's literature, I would recommend that one. One I got from the library is Just Do Something by Kevin D. Young. I was thinking of getting my oldest to read it. The subtitle is covered up by the sticker here. It's called A Liberating Approach to Finding God's Will. It says, or How to Make a Decision Without Dreams, Visions, Fleeces, Impressions, Open Doors, Random Bible Verses, Casting Lots, Liver Shivers, Writing in the Sky, etc. I wish I would have read this book when it first came out, which was 2009, because I definitely struggled after school. Like, what am I supposed to do with my life? Like, really struggled with that. And one thing I like to do as a parent is look at my kids, see their talents, their interests, and try to like push them in that direction. I don't want to be the parent that is pushing my kids to do things they don't want to do, especially like for future careers. But I really want to acknowledge their gifts. I think that was a struggle for me after high school. Was I asked my parents some ideas on what I should do, and they were like, whatever you want, which like they were trying to be encouraging, and that's great. But I felt like I needed some direction. I needed someone to say, hey, I see you're pretty good at this. How about you explore this route? Yeah, I feel like now I'm living the dream. I'm doing what I want, but yeah, I would have liked a little bit more guidance. And then I did have that fear of like, is there like one specific thing I should be doing? And his approach is just, you know, pray for wisdom, read the Bible, ask people around you what they think, and then just do something. Don't do nothing. And yeah, I highly recommend it. Going to get my oldest to read it. I think she kind of knows already what she wants to do after school, but I think it's a really good book, really important. Definitely should be out there. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I would think I'm gonna grab a copy for our house so that next kids can read it at some point. Okay, let's just go another nonfiction. I read Uniquely You by Sally Clarkson and Nathan Clarkson. So they wrote Different together, which is I think a little bit Nathan's story of living with OCD and ADHD. I don't remember what he all has, but this one is more like advice. So they have these letters from different people, which is like a combination of different letters that they've had over the years. And they share, okay, so like this first letter, 7 years into parenthood, we suddenly feel lost and overwhelmed. The advice we see in books seems inadequate to address the individual needs of our 3 different children. What works for one doesn't work for the other. We want to give our children what they need, but it seems there's no one method. This has gotten us to a place where we feel lost, tired, and a bit hopeless. And yeah, and then Nathan responds, and then Sally responds with their like personal experience as parent and child, and even Sally as a child. And it was really good. I feel like I wish I would have read this a few years ago. It's a lot of like, oh yeah, okay, I'm doing that now. But I definitely do recommend it if you are a parent, especially with kids in the like 5 to 12 range, which I do have as well. And then at the end of each chapter, there's a verse or a passage and some family discussion questions, which I think would be good. What is your favorite way to be shown love is one of them. One chapter. What are your biggest dreams? What are you naturally good at doing? There was a little bit of crossover from some of the chapters in here and this book, which I enjoyed. So those were both super short books. And then my last physical book was All Quiet on the Western Front. I actually mostly listened to this on audio. So this is a fictional World War I story that was written by a German in what year was it again? 1928. The author was in World War I, and he wrote this shortly after World War I. So this book is just different than all the historical fiction that I've read because it was written so close to the events, written by someone that was there. The book is quite gritty if you're used to reading like historical fiction written by a woman that's alive right now kind of thing, but I think really well done. So our main character is Paul. I think he starts out at the age of 19. His teacher kind of forced a bunch of kids his age to enlist, and he talks about their time, and there's like discussions between some of the guys that he's with about like, is war the best way to solve problems, or should leaders that want to start a war, how about those two leaders just fight in a ring and whoever's victorious won, instead of all these lives being sacrificed for the war? There were some really good discussions in here. I really enjoyed it. One of the reasons I was reading it was to see if I wanted to assign it to my oldest for school, and I'm not going to, just because I think she would probably like it. It's a bit gritty. I don't know. It would be okay for the most part. There are some things in here that are like, but it's also like, it's war. It's true. I mean, at least based on true things. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I wouldn't want to read this kind of stuff all the time. I've read some Alan Gratz books, which are historical fiction, and I feel like he's kind of like the middle grade YA version of this. This is a little bit more adult. So very well done. Glad I read it. That was all for my physical books. My first ebook that I finished was Ignite. So I'm using this one for the fire prompt for my autumn bingo. I probably could have checked boxes with some of these, like this one has trees and leaves. And I just decided, you know what, I only want to use books for the bingo that feel kind of autumnal. I'm not just trying to get bingo, also because I can't win the prize, so I just want to do it the way I want to do it. Anyway, I read Ignite by Kara Swanson. I normally love Enclave books. I think they're generally like 4 to 5 stars. I don't know if I've really ever given one less than 4 stars, but I ended up giving this one 3 stars. So it's probably my least favorite Enclave book. So our main character is a phoenix, and this is part of my problem. If I can't visualize things, I feel so confused. So she's a phoenix, which, like in common mythology, is a bird, right? Like that can combust and come back to life. But I think she's kind of like human-esque, because there are some phoenixes that are half human, half phoenix. And at the beginning of the book, her father is training her because him and the rest of her flock, other than our main character, need to go to sleep because they're kind of dying. And so she's supposed to take care of the flock while they're doing this long sleep. And her father is very emotionally abusive, but that's not acknowledged at the beginning of the book. And I was like, okay, like this guy is not so great, but like it's kind of not really addressed until later. So between not being able to visualize our character and like, yeah, I really didn't like the beginning. I was probably about 50% before I was like, okay, I'm getting into the book. What is our main character's name? Is it Mara? That was also another thing. I felt like we didn't really get her name very often. And even when I was reading the book, I barely even knew what her name was. I actually don't know now. Anyway, yeah, so things happen, but I feel like things don't start happening until halfway through the book. So I don't even know what I can tell you. I can say things don't go as planned. Well, her flock is undergoing this sleep. She has been taught that the humans, which they call the Hollow, hunt her kind for their blood because their blood is warm and they live in this like, I don't know, the snow and the ice is kind of taking over. And so she's scared of the humans, but she needs some medicine that the humans can grow to help her flock while they're sleeping. And I'll leave it there. I'm curious to hear thoughts, other people's thoughts that have read the book. I know some people on my Patreon book club have read it. I felt very confused for most of the first half. And then I didn't really like where things went for the second half, so not my favorite. And then the last book I just finished yesterday. It was called The Curious Case of the Midnight Specter. And I think it was just released yesterday, or it's releasing the week that I'm putting this out. So it's out right away, or will be by the time you're seeing this. And this is by the end of the book, I was like, okay, this reminds me of, see if I can remember the title of the other book, A Lady's Guide to Marvels and Misadventure, or whatever that one was called, because we're set in Victorian England, I think. But there's a cat, and there's some like humor and stuff that kind of reminded me of that book. So what happens in this one, right at the beginning, our main character, Leanna, is dying from tuberculosis. And we get a scene where life and death are both there at her sickbed, kind of fighting over her, waiting to see like kind of who's gonna win. Is she gonna die? Is she gonna live? She ends up living, but while this one night, she has this like vivid dream. It turns out someone was murdered the night that she was kind of like between life and death. And when she wakes up and is alive, she wants to figure out the murder. They're blaming it on Jack the Ripper. A girl was murdered in some stables, but there's some things that don't make any sense. And so she decides to try to figure this out. She kind of annoyed me as a character because she was just so like, no, I'm doing this, I'm figuring this out, kind of push everyone off to the side. All that matters is figuring out the murder of this girl that I've never even met. And I can admire that, but also she was just very single-minded, and she also lacked tact. So she had some ideas of who she thought the murderer was, and I felt like she wasn't very safe around that person, or like she accused them, but then still like was with them unattended. And I'm like, maybe you should be a little smarter about this. I feel like I kind of came around to her throughout the book. She didn't annoy me all the time. And then she has a pet cat that she sometimes takes in her bag with her, which was funny and reminded me of the Marvels and Misadventure book, because the mother in there was really like pro animal rights and had a fur around her neck, but it was actually some kind of animal. Yeah, so it gave me those vibes. And then we do get chapters every now and then from life and death's perspective, and sometimes time is in there as well. There's a funny scene where she's wearing bell bottoms from the future. Yeah, so I think I ended up giving it 4 stars. I liked a lot of it, but sometimes our character really annoyed me. But I did appreciate her stubbornness and determination. I have a feeling it might be turned into a series. I don't think it says at this point, but I think it's going to be. And yeah, so those are my books for the first 10 days, which I'm curious to see how the rest of the month goes now that I get like 2 hours back in my day. So I guess I will be back right away for you guys. Okay, a little bit of a quicker update this time. I only have 3 books to update you on, and they were all 5-star reads. So I'm really excited about that. The first one I just devoured was Quarter Labyrinth by Victoria McCombs. I am not surprised. I actually finished this the day before my fantasy book recommendations, clean fantasy book recommendations went live, and I could have added this onto the list, but I already had, what, 3 or 4 books from her on there, so this will make it onto the next one. So this is a world where every 4 years there is this labyrinth that appears, and whoever makes it to the center before time runs out wins something. It's different every year. And our main character, her name is Wren, Serenity. She is, at the beginning of the book, she's waiting on the eve of her 16th birthday for her father to arrive. He owns this fleet of ships, and he has hidden her and her mother away for the last 16-ish years. And he's supposed to show up the eve of her 16th birthday, announce to the world that she is his heir and she will inherit his fleet of ships. Well, he doesn't show, and the Quarter Labyrinth information arrives, and the winner of the Quarter Labyrinth this year wins this fleet of ships. So we follow Wren. She takes her best friend Clark, much to her not approval. She wanted to go alone, but her best friend Clark tags along, and they try to get into the Quarter Labyrinth. Part of the trouble is figuring out how to enter, and then once you do enter, things are a little crazy. So there are, I don't know how many, but there is a number of stone gods throughout the labyrinth. And in the book, they all have a picture before you meet them and their story about how they got to the labyrinth. So it's pretty cool because there's just all these different pictures of these stone gods who were once real people, but for various reasons are now tied to the labyrinth. And so we follow Wren as she tries to make it to the center of the labyrinth. Actually, like right when she enters, someone tells her, "You're not gonna win." And interesting to see how that affects things. And these stone gods, they kind of make deals with people. They're willing to help people for a certain price. And I just loved it. So this is a duology. I want to purchase book 2 right away so that I can continue the story because, yeah, I don't want to say how the second one starts because I don't want to spoil anything. I loved this read. This might actually be my absolute favorite Victoria McCombs book ever, which is saying something. I highlighted and underlined things that I loved. I just really enjoyed her writing here. I felt like it was spectacular. This line here says, "The air tasted of salt and bad decisions." Yeah, I'm intrigued. And I felt like there was just so many different things I was underlining as I went. Let's see. I don't want to say anything that's like too spoilery though, so I'm trying to look at the beginning here. I enjoyed this little scene. Clark's bony fingers found purchase on the gnarled vines of the labyrinth as he leaned his weight over the side to look. I grabbed hold of his jacket. He glanced back. "If I fall, that's not going to stop me. I'm not trying to save you. This is a very nice jacket." So there's some humor. Yeah, and just fun. So much fun. Can't wait to see where things go in book 2. Definite 5-star read. It wasn't autumnal. During the labyrinth, they start in spring and they go through all the seasons, and the winner, has to get to the center before the end of winter. So you experience all 4 seasons throughout the book. But I really enjoy fantasy in the summer and the fall, so it felt like the perfect time to read it. The next book is actually a classic. It's a Victorian classic, so it fits well with my new DIY literature degree for year 3. I read What Katy Did Next. This is also my travel book for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, because in this book, Katy travels Europe. At the beginning of the book, she helps a neighbor lady. There's like there's scarlet fever going around, and someone in this lady's house has scarlet fever, so she sends her daughter to live with Katy and her family. And then this lady decides to go to Europe and decides to take Katy with her. And I really appreciated that it's not like just all fun and games. They get to England and there's like a mist and Paris is rainy, and it's also not just like totally a downer either, but I felt like it was very realistic of, oh, there are some things that are good about traveling and some things that are not. There are a number of great lines. Chapter 2, I kind of wish it would have been chapter 1 because it's kind of gripping right off the bat in chapter 2 here. It is a curious fact and makes life very interesting that, generally speaking, none of us have any expectation that things are going to happen till the very moment when they do happen. And then later in the paragraph it says, and because it may be, and often is, happy tidings that come, and joyful things which happen, each fresh day as it dawns upon us is like an unread story, full of possible interest and adventure, to be made ours as soon as we have cut the pages and begun to read. This series, this is book 3 out of 5, does not feel like it was written in the 1800s. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I highlighted and underlined and annotated throughout the entire book. Oh, I liked this. Night after night, she and Papa and the children pored over maps and made schemes for travel and sightseeing, every one of which was likely to be discarded as soon as the real journey began. But they didn't know that, and it made no real difference. Such schemes are the preliminary joys of travel, and it doesn't signify that they come to nothing after they have served their purpose. This is why I've never wanted a surprise trip, because to me the anticipation and the preparation and the excitement is half of the joy, if not sometimes even more. So I really enjoyed that. Yeah, lots of great things. Yeah, just underlining so many things. I don't know if that's coming up, but lots of great things. Oh yeah, and she wished with all her heart, as everyone wishes under such circumstances, that she had studied harder and more wisely while the chance was in her power. On a journey, you cannot read to advantage. Remember that, dear girls who are looking forward to traveling someday, and be industrious in time. Yeah, so thoroughly recommend the series. I really enjoyed book 1. Book 2 is like a little bit more boring. Book 3, amazing. And then in book 4, we're going to be following Katy's sister Clover. So I don't know if I'll like it as much, different main character, but I'm definitely going to continue with that series. And then I read The Garden That You're Growing by Rachel Huckle. This is a poetry collection. This is my 3rd poetry collection that I've read from her in the last like 3 or 4 months. This is my absolute favorite. I have many tabs here, many lines and poems that I enjoyed. This one just definitely felt the most relatable. Let's see if I can find something that I underlined that would make sense to read. I guess let's read the title poem. I won't read all of it. I'll just read like half of it. You're looking in the mirror and you don't like what you see. You're nothing like the person that by now you thought you'd be. And the voices in your head start telling you those lies. Now there's a tremor in your lip and tears inside your eyes. They tell you about the others who are so much better than you, and you've heard it enough times that you start to believe it's true. And their grass just might be greener, but that is not worth knowing, for the greenest grass cannot compare to the garden that you're growing. Yeah, not all of her poems rhyme. That one did. I would say like maybe 1/10 of them rhyme, which rhyming isn't bad, but sometimes it can feel forced. So generally I prefer for them not to rhyme. Definitely recommend her poetry, specifically this one. Although if you want to read all of them, I say read them in order because she really grows as a poet. And it made me work on my poetry. Still hoping to publish a book in the spring. Just working away at making sure that I have enough poems to actually publish a book. So that is all for this wrap up. 3 excellent 5-star reads that I would highly recommend. Okay guys, I've got actually quite a few books to update you on. Some of them are going to be really quick updates because I have 2 of them are graphic novels. One was a play / short story-ish type thing, and I've got 2 DNFs and then 1 like regular novel. So let's start with the DNFs. First of all, I quit, what's the title? Of Golden Shadows, I think. This is the first book in this particular series by Michelle Greep. I own book 2. It's on my TBR shelf. Book 1, I was just really bored. I think I got to 50% and I was like, oh my goodness, is this book not over yet? So yeah, I decided, why keep going? I don't think book 1 is necessary to read book 2. If it is, I could see where it was going enough that I don't feel like I need to read book 1. Yeah, because there was still going to be like a major conflict point that I could see coming. That was just kind of cringy. Like, I wish people would just communicate and trust each other. So I decided to quit that one. If you like Christian romance more than I do, you might like it. It just, yeah, there wasn't enough there for me. And then I still don't know if this is official, but I tried to get back into Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I was 320 pages in. I got 2 pages in, and then I was like, I don't even know the characters that are talking. Like, I don't know who's who. So I decided to give it to Jared. And I told him that if he likes it, like, he can tell me if I'll like it or not, because he's really good at knowing that. He is 48 pages in, and he's tried to read it for like 3 evenings. I don't know if he was like more just tired or if he's also not really getting into it. So I have a feeling I will be completely DNFing this book / officially unhauling it, but I'm waiting to hear what he has to say. It's so long. That's like a big issue I have with it. And now I don't remember what happened in the first 320 pages because it's been 2 years. The play that I read was The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. This is hilarious. If you love to hate characters, if you love characters that are making terrible choices and it's like super obvious, it was 77 pages in my book. I underlined so many terrible lines. I don't know if any of them make sense out of context. I'll try to go to the beginning. Men often propose for practice. I know my brother Gerald does. All my girlfriends tell me so. Yeah, so it's about 2 friends that have these like fake people that they visit in order to have excuses to go certain places, and their expectation of marriage and romance is terrible. Even like the servant says, I have only been married once. That was in consequence of a misunderstanding between myself and a young person. And then the one guy says, I don't know that I'm much interested in your family life. And then the servant says, no, sir, it is not a very interesting subject. I never think of it myself. And that's of his own marriage. Yeah, so it's just funny. Don't take any advice from here, but I told Jared he should read it. And I said, if you're looking for something light and funny, he didn't get very far yet. But this is a really good read for Victober. It's an easy way to check off a Victorian play, and it's pretty hilariously terrible. The 2 graphic novels, the first one, I read these both yesterday. I wasn't feeling good, but I wanted to read, but my brain power was like, I'd been busy all day, not feeling well, and I just didn't have brain power. So I read 1 graphic novel, and then I read most of one, and then I finished the one today. And I'm not normally a graphic novel person, but I got 10 Days in a Madhouse from the library. I was curious about this because this is a graphic novel based on Nellie Bly's book, which is quoted right at the beginning of The Curse of Misty Wayfair. Yeah, so this is just a really, I think, well done graphic novel sharing her time getting committed in a asylum in Victorian, where's this, New York? And yeah, I'm still curious to read like the actual book, but my library didn't have it, so I thought I would try this first, and I'm definitely curious too. I shared this in a library haul over on Patreon because I went to the library and got a lot of books out. And then the next one is a graphic novel that I got out for my daughter. She wanted to read it because it's by Marissa Meyer. Not normally my kind of thing. I only picked it up because I was like, I still want to be reading. I almost got ready for bed at 8:45 last night, but I was like, no, I gotta stay up longer. So I picked this up because it was like super light. We Could Be Magic. It's like a YA romance. We follow this girl. Her name is Tabitha. She always wanted to work at this. It's pretty much like Disneyland, or Disney World, but it's called Summerland. And she gets a job there, and she always wanted to be the princess, but she ends up working at this taco stand where she has to wear this like atrocious outfit. But she's still all about the magic of Summerland and making it a good time for people. It was fine. It was fine. I give it 3 stars because it's just not my kind of thing, but it helped me stay awake a bit last night. Oh, I forgot, this one's so tiny. It was underneath The Curse of Misty Wayfair. I also finished a very short story, novella, Soul Threads by Grace Pringle. I just shared this in my last haul. So this is a short comedic romantic fantasy, and we follow Pilder and Rilla. They've been married for like 100 years or something like that. They are, I don't remember what kind of, Pilder is half human, half something or other, and Rilla is full-blooded, whatever they are. And there is this mysterious artifact that they are asked to work with. And yeah, it's only 50 pages, so I really don't want to say much, but it was interesting. It was a quick read, really good for shorty September. I have one, I think the book 2 in this series, and then I have Grace Pringle's bigger book that I also hauled that I want to read soon. And then my last read is The Curse of Misty Wayfair. I tabbed it up, underlined so many things throughout the book. Just had a grand old time rereading it. Oh, there's birds flying around. I forgot that there was an asylum in here, so I remembered the postmortem photographer. I forgot all the anxiety, the asylum. So many good creepy gothic vibes, but also so many good faith conversations. So in both timelines, we have women that come to Pleasant Valley. In 1908, I think, we've got Thea. She is a postmortem photographer. She is coming there because she was told that her mother was kind of from that area or something. She was taken from an orphanage by this couple that did photography / postmortem photography when she was 12, and she didn't remember anything from her mother. They weren't like family to her, but they cared for her physically, but not emotionally. So she wants to find out about her mother. And in present day, we follow Heidi Lane. Her parents and sister and brother-in-law started a B&B in Pleasant Valley, and she is there because her mother, who now has dementia, wrote her a very cryptic, mysterious letter. Heidi has never felt accepted in her family because she is the result. I think her mom was 46 when she was born, so she always felt a little bit like unwanted. And yeah, and then creepy things happen. There's this, The Curse of Misty Wayfair. Misty Wayfair is this woman that was murdered in 1850, and her ghost is often seen. There's like a family. She's often seen before they're murdered. I very much forgot the ending of both timelines, and it wasn't until they were being revealed that I was like, oh yeah, like I was down for the ride the full way. Yeah, so many great lines. I just opened to a random spot I had underlined. Was this emptiness, this questioning, because she didn't know who she was, because she had no belonging, no point of reference, no identity? Or was it deeper than that? Was it just a longing to know her creator and the reason why she existed in the first place? So if you like creepy vibes, but you like light to win out, 100%. Always recommend Jimmy Jo Wright. This is one of my favorites. I'm excited to reread her others as well, but I did just get an e-arc for her newest one that's going to come out, so I gotta read that first. And then I think next year I'm gonna work on doing some rereading. Okay, I cruised through a bunch of books, but a couple DNFs and a lot of short ones. So far, September is like shaping up to be a really good reading month, I feel like. I'm enjoying it overall. All right, so just 3 more books to wrap things up with. The first one I read was Powerful. This is book 1.5 after Powerless and before book 2, which is Reckless. Okay, so we follow, what's the main character in book 1? Peyton. So we follow Peyton's best friend, Adina. They've been living on the streets together. They have like their own little house that they've made. Adina is a seamstress, and she comes out quite a bit in book 1. She is a part of it even after Peyton goes and does the trials. Adina ends up becoming her seamstress. She specifically requests her to sew her gowns for the balls. So she's in book 1, and we know quite a bit of her story from book 1. Therefore, I can't really say much about book 2 or book 1.5, because it's a spoiler to book one if you haven't read it. If you have read book one, you obviously know a bit of Adina's story, but what we're really seeing is what is going on with Adina while Peyton is out doing these trials. And it was a bit of a disappointment for me because it's much more just a romance story than anything. She meets someone, a grumpy sunshine kind of story. Yeah, I felt like because I'd read book one and knew where things went, nothing in book 1.5 was very eye-opening, surprising. So whatever, I'm glad I read it, I guess. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to seeing how book two is and then going from there. And then two other books. First of all, my Anne for the month, Anne of Ingleside. Sorry about my voice. I can't seem to clear it. I don't know if I'm getting a cold. This is possibly my least favorite book of the series. I honestly can't remember. Rainbow Valley might be kind of tied, even though this is one of my favorite covers. I love the poppies. It's just beautiful. But in this one we follow Anne. She has her sixth child in this book, and this book takes place at least over the period of 6 years, because the youngest is, I don't know if we're told an age kind of near the end, but more than 5, so at least 6. We don't get a whole lot of Anne in here necessarily. It's a lot of little stories of her kids. Like for one chapter, we'll be with one kid in some kind of situation that they're in, and then in the next chapter we're with a different kid. Not my favorite, especially since they're all so young during the book. Like, I don't know, it's just, I don't think this is where Maud's writing really shines. It's not bad, whatever. I'm glad I reread it, but not a whole lot to say about it. My live should have already happened for this, so you can always check that out if you want more of my thoughts. And sometimes talking to people about a book that I didn't enjoy makes me enjoy it more, so maybe that will happen. And the final book, not the final one I read, this is not in order at all, but You Are Fatally Invited. Thank you to Lexi for sharing this on Instagram, because I went and requested it from the library and just devoured it. It was such a good read. So this is a locked room type mystery. We're on an island. A bunch of horror writers have been invited to this writing retreat on this island by this author in the horror genre who no one has ever seen. So people aren't sure who this person is. They know nothing. They know this person had a kid at one point. That's the only information they know. No one's ever met this author. And so our main character is mostly Mila. She has been, she's like an event planner and has been hired by the author to plan this retreat. So we get a lot of Mila's perspective in here, but then also some chapters we are following other people, and slowly, like Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, people get picked off one by one. One of the coolest things is it has this clue map in it, which does come into play throughout the book, so that's really neat. Definitely brought me back to my childhood playing Clue. And then the book is broken down into sections, which are tropes, and this is from a book, The Ink in Your Vein on Writing Fear, and Index of Tropes. So there's the writing, the dinner party, cursed artifacts, game night, etc. And it's all got like these little blurbs from this book, which this author, J.R. Allister, has written. And all sorts of things happen. At some point, a character finds their horror book with one of their chapters of a death scene, a murder scene, and the character's name is crossed off and their name is crossed off, written in there instead. And yeah, I just kind of went into it blind, just really excited to give it a try, and it definitely exceeded my expectations. Definitely a fun read. If you guys have more like locked room mystery recommendations, mystery thriller type things, let me know. I maybe will have already shared a post on Substack. I want to share a post of some of my favorite thrillers because I like them in moderation and I don't like them to be too much generally. So I would like some of your recommendations if you guys have some for me. I'm going to end it here before my voice is completely gone. Let me know some of your favorites from September. Anything kind of atmospheric for the autumn that you want to recommend, please let me know. and thanks for joining me.